There's a moment in life when you look around, hoping someone will understand your silence, your pain, your journey, and you realize no one does, and no one will, not because they're cruel, but because everyone is lost in their own storm. That's when it hits you. Nobody cares the way you thought they would. And strangely, that truth isn't bitter, it's freeing. Because the moment you stop waiting for others to carry your burden, you begin carrying your own with power. That's the heart of the Buddhist path. No blame, no begging, just deep responsibility. Inner peace doesn't come from others. It comes from mastering yourself. And that's what we're here to learn. 1. Accept this harsh truth. You are alone in your battle. One of the hardest, yet most liberating truths in life is this. No matter how many people surround you, no matter how many friends you have, and no matter how deeply someone loves you, your internal struggle is yours alone. Nobody else can feel the storm inside your chest. Nobody else can truly experience the thoughts that keep you awake at night. And nobody, not even those closest to you, can walk the path of your healing, growth, or transformation for you. It's a journey only you can take. Even the Buddha himself, before he became the enlightened one, had to leave everything behind: his family, his comfort, his palace, to sit alone beneath the Bodhi tree in silence. He didn't bring a guide. He didn't wait for someone to motivate him. He didn't complain about being misunderstood. He sat, he observed, and he looked directly into the suffering of the world, starting with his own. That silence, that solitude, that complete acceptance of loneliness was not a punishment. It was a turning point. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises when we crave things that reality cannot give us. And one of the deepest cravings is the hope that someone else will fix what's broken inside us. But the truth is they can't. They might care, they might offer words, they might even walk beside us for a while, but they can't climb into your soul and carry your burden for you. That's your work, your healing, your awakening. The sooner you stop expecting others to rescue you or even fully understand you, the sooner you begin to reclaim your power. Because it's in the solitude, in the rawness of being alone with your thoughts, where your true strength is born. Every time you face your fears alone, every time you stay present with your pain instead of escaping it, you're sharpening the sword of your spirit. You're developing the inner stillness that no crowd can give you. So instead of seeing solitude as suffering, begin to see it as sacred. It is not a punishment, it is a path. Your pain doesn't need to be validated by others to be real. Your growth doesn't need to be witnessed to be meaningful. When you walk this journey inward, fully accepting that no one else can walk it for you, you tap into a deep reservoir of resilience, clarity, and peace that no one can ever take from you. You are alone in your battle not because the world abandoned you, but because this is how transformation works. Aloneness is not the absence of people, it's the presence of self. And in Buddhism, that presence is where all enlightenment begins. 2. Your pain is your responsibility. Pain is a natural part of human life. Everyone experiences it in different forms, at different times. Some people carry emotional wounds from childhood. Others suffer through heartbreak, loss, failure, or silent mental battles that no one sees. And while pain itself is inevitable, how you respond to that pain is entirely your responsibility. Buddhism does not teach us to avoid pain, nor does it ask us to numb ourselves to it. Instead, it teaches us to face it with awareness, without blaming others, and without running away. One of the core teachings of the Buddha is that suffering is not just in the pain itself, it is in our resistance to the pain. When you say, "This shouldn't be happening to me," or "Why me?" you add a second layer of suffering, the mental story, the victimhood, the helplessness. And that only makes the wound deeper. You may have been hurt by others. You may have been betrayed, abandoned, ignored, or treated unfairly. That pain is real. But holding on to it, expecting others to fix it, or blaming them for how broken you feel keeps you stuck. Healing begins the moment you stop pointing outward and start turning inward. The moment you say, "This pain is mine, and I will face it. I will understand it. I will learn from it," you take your first step toward freedom. In Buddhist practice, self-responsibility is not harsh, it's empowering. It doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that has happened. It means understanding that you are the only one who can choose how long you will carry it. You can sit with your pain in silence. You can observe it through mindfulness. You can slowly release it through compassion, patience, and self-awareness. But no one else can do that work for you. Waiting for someone to come and make it right is like waiting for the wind to move only when you ask it to. Life moves as it moves. People act as they act, and still your peace is your job. The deeper truth is, you may not be responsible for what broke you, but you are absolutely responsible for what you do with the broken pieces. And here's the hidden gift. When you start taking ownership of your pain, you begin to realize how powerful you really are. You no longer see yourself as a victim of life, but a student of it. Every scar becomes a lesson. Every wound becomes wisdom. You grow not in spite of your pain, but because of how you rise from it. So the next time you feel like blaming the world for how you feel, pause, breathe, sit still, and remind yourself, my pain is my responsibility. My peace is my responsibility. And I will carry this pain with mindfulness, not bitterness, until I no longer need to carry it at all. That is the path of healing. That is the path of freedom. That is the path of Buddhism. 3. Results speak louder than complaints. In a world where everyone is quick to talk about their struggles, their goals, and their intentions, very few are willing to sit in silence and actually do the work. Complaining is easy. It gives the illusion of action without requiring any real effort. But Buddhism teaches that real transformation doesn't happen through words. It happens through discipline, effort, and silent practice. The Buddha never went from prince to enlightened teacher by complaining about the world. He didn't blame others for the existence of suffering, he sought to understand it. He didn't talk endlessly about how unfair life was, he meditated, reflected, observed. And through that silence, he gained clarity. That clarity became wisdom, and that wisdom became action. We all go through things. Life is difficult. There are unfair situations, painful disappointments, and deep emotional wounds that deserve to be acknowledged. But constantly repeating those struggles to others, constantly seeking sympathy, or waiting for the world to validate your pain that only drains your energy, it doesn't move you forward. Your energy is sacred, and it should be directed toward building, not broadcasting. Buddhism encourages mindfulness, not just of the breath, but of your time, your energy, your focus. When you spend all your time talking about what's wrong, you leave no space to create what's right. When you keep complaining about your failures, you delay your success. True growth is quiet. It happens in moments when no one is watching. It's when you show up for yourself at 5 a.m. to meditate. It's when you choose to stay calm instead of reacting. It's when you study in silence, train in solitude, and master your emotions when no one else even knows what you're going through. And then slowly results begin to appear. You become calmer, stronger, wiser, more focused. People will notice that something has changed, but you won't need to explain it. Your results will speak, your peace will speak, your presence will speak louder than your words ever could. The truth is, no one really wants to hear endless complaints, not because people are heartless, but because everyone is dealing with their own battles. So instead of hoping someone will rescue you, show them what it looks like to rescue yourself. Instead of proving how hard your life is, prove how disciplined your mind is. Every second you spend complaining is a second you could have spent growing. Every excuse is a brick that could have built your foundation. So choose the Buddhist way, the way of silent action, quiet perseverance, and deep presence. Speak less, complain less, focus more, build more. Let your results be your voice. Let your growth be your response, and let your peace be your loudest victory. 4. Validation is a trap. There is a subtle form of suffering that most people never realize they're caught in the constant need to be seen, approved of, and praised by others. We often base our self-worth on how many people like us, notice us, agree with us, or applaud our actions. But in Buddhism, this is considered a trap, a form of attachment that leads only to more dissatisfaction. When you rely on external validation, you place your peace in someone else's hands. You become a prisoner to other people's opinions, always adjusting who you are just to be accepted. One moment of praise makes you feel high. One moment of criticism makes you collapse. Your emotional state becomes unstable, reactive, and fragile because it is built on something impermanent: the opinions of others. The Buddha taught that true peace comes from non-attachment. That means not clinging to things, not even the approval or admiration of others, because everything that arises will also fall. Today they praise you, tomorrow they forget you. Today they support you, tomorrow they may turn against you. If your happiness is tied to how people treat you, you'll always be at the mercy of something you can't control. Think about it. How often have you hesitated to act, speak, or express yourself honestly because you feared what others would think? How many times have you done something not because it was right, but because it would make people like you more? That's not freedom. That's a silent form of slavery. And Buddhism calls us to wake up from it. You don't need a crowd to validate your worth. You don't need likes, followers, or applause to know you're enough. You are already complete. Not because someone said so, but because you exist, you breathe, you are aware. That inner awareness, that presence, that stillness within you, that is where your value lives. When you begin to release your craving for validation, you gain something far more powerful: self-respect. You stop performing for others and start living for what is true. You become more authentic, more focused, more grounded. And ironically, people are more drawn to you when you no longer need their approval, because your peace speaks louder than your performance ever could. So let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the need to be applauded. Do what is right, not what is popular. Speak your truth not for attention, but for alignment. Live your life quietly, sincerely, and mindfully. The less you need from others, the more powerful you become. Validation is a trap. Liberation begins when you no longer need it. 5. Silence your expectations. Expectation is one of the most silent destroyers of inner peace. We often don't notice it, but it quietly lives in our minds, expecting others to treat us a certain way, expecting life to unfold according to our plans, expecting people to always understand, appreciate, or reciprocate. But in Buddhism, expectation is considered a form of attachment, and where there is attachment, suffering is sure to follow. We expect kindness because we gave it. We expect loyalty because we were loyal. We expect love because we offered our heart. And when reality doesn't mirror our expectations, we feel hurt, disappointed, even betrayed. But the truth is, the world is not here to meet our imagined scripts. People are who they are, not who we want them to be. Life moves as it does, not as we demand it to. The more we cling to how things should be, the more we suffer when they are not. The Buddha taught that freedom begins where expectation ends. Letting go of expectation is not the same as lowering your standards or not caring. It's about releasing your inner demand that things must always go your way. When you approach life with openness instead of rigid desires, you flow more easily with its changes. You become less reactive. You become more compassionate. You stop punishing others for not reading your mind or fulfilling your silent hopes. Ask yourself, how often do your disappointments come not from what actually happened, but from what you expected to happen? You thought they would call, they didn't. You thought they would support you, they stayed silent. You assumed things would be fair, but they weren't. And suddenly, your peace is gone not because of reality, but because of your attachment to a different version of it. In Buddhist practice, we learn to let go of these invisible chains. We give without needing to receive. We help without needing recognition. We love without needing it to be returned in the same form. Why? Because our peace is not dependent on the outside. It comes from within. It comes from our ability to live in the moment without constantly demanding that it look a certain way. Silencing your expectations doesn't mean becoming cold or detached from the world. It means entering into life with eyes open, accepting that people are imperfect, that things change, that not everything will align with your plans, and that's okay. You stop saying, "they should have," or "it should have been," and instead you say, "it is what it is, and I will meet it with presence, not resistance." When you do this, something incredible happens. You suffer less. You stop being disappointed so often. You experience more gratitude. You find more beauty in what is, rather than mourning what isn't. That's the essence of Buddhism, not to escape the world, but to stop being ruled by your mental stories about it. So silence your expectations. Walk into life not with demands, but with awareness. Let go of how you think people should behave, and watch your peace return. In that stillness, you'll find a quiet power, a power that no disappointment can shake. 6. The world moves on, with or without you. One of the most sobering truths in life, and one that Buddhism urges us to accept, is this: the world doesn't pause for your pain. You can be going through the worst moment of your life, and still the sun will rise. People will go to work. The streets will stay busy. The world keeps turning, whether you are ready or not. And while that truth may feel harsh at first, within it lies an invitation to freedom, to stop waiting for the world to care and start focusing on how you respond to it. There is a deep tendency in the human mind to assume that when we suffer, the world should stop and take notice. That when we're broken, others should rush to fix us. That when we fall, someone should carry us. But Buddhism teaches that this expectation is what leads to prolonged suffering. The reality is, no matter how deep your heartbreak is, no matter how real your struggle feels, most of the world is absorbed in its own chaos. People aren't being cruel when they don't notice. They're simply overwhelmed with their own storms. The Buddha didn't achieve enlightenment by expecting the world to pause for him. He didn't beg for attention. He didn't wait for perfect conditions. Instead, he accepted the nature of existence, its impermanence, its unpredictability, its indifference. And by accepting that the world does not revolve around any one person's pain, he became free of the illusions that trap most people. He found peace by going inward, not because the world changed, but because he did. You see, when you finally accept that the world will not stop for your grief, you stop taking it personally. You stop feeling like a victim. And instead, you begin to focus on your own healing, not because others are watching, not because they care, but because you deserve peace, even if nobody notices your struggle. You stop waiting to be rescued and start learning how to rescue yourself. This doesn't mean your pain is insignificant. It doesn't mean your struggles aren't valid. In Buddhism, everything you feel is worthy of compassion, especially from yourself. But the key is this: you must be your own refuge. You must learn to find stability within your own mind, because the world outside is constantly shifting. People come and go. Plans fall apart. Circumstances change without warning, and if your peace is dependent on things staying still, you'll be shattered every time life moves forward without you. So instead of resisting reality, meet it with mindfulness. Don't ask life to be easier, become stronger. Don't beg for things to stay the same, learn to adapt. Don't drown in the illusion that your suffering must be witnessed to be real. Trust that your silent strength is enough. Every time you face the day when it feels impossible, every time you keep going when no one sees your effort, you are walking the path of the wise. The world will keep spinning, time will keep moving, seasons will keep changing. And the greatest peace you can ever achieve is not in trying to slow the world down, but in learning how to stay still within yourself as everything moves around you. That's the essence of Buddhist practice. Not to control the world, but to master your response to it. Not to expect life to stop for you, but to move through life with awareness, even when it hurts. So, accept this truth with courage. The world moves on, with or without you. And once you do, you'll begin to move with it, not in resistance, but in wisdom, balance, and peace. 7. Use rejection as fuel. Rejection hurts. It stings in places that are hard to explain, whether it's being ignored, excluded, dismissed, or made to feel like you're not good enough. Rejection hits at the heart of our identity. It can trigger a deep sense of unworthiness, loneliness, and even resentment. But in Buddhism, rejection is not viewed as punishment. It is seen as a teacher, a redirection, a chance to evolve beyond the illusions you once clung to. Let's be honest, most people crave acceptance. From a young age, we're conditioned to seek approval from parents, friends, teachers, society. We want to fit in, we want to be liked, we want to be chosen, and when we are rejected, it feels like we've lost value, like we've been denied something essential. But the truth is, rejection is not about your worth, it's about your path. What doesn't choose you is not always a loss. Sometimes it's a divine protection. In Buddhism, we are taught to let go of attachment, especially to things outside our control. Rejection becomes easier to handle when you realize that it's not your job to be chosen by everything. Your job is to walk the path that is meant for you, with or without an audience, with or without applause. If someone leaves you, if a door closes, if the world doesn't validate your efforts, that doesn't mean you are less. It just means life is inviting you inward to discover your own approval first. There's an old Buddhist metaphor about the lotus flower. It grows in the mud, in the darkness, in the filth, but despite the environment, it rises tall and untouched by the dirt around it. Rejection is that mud. It's uncomfortable, it's cold, it makes you question your place. But if you choose, it can also be the exact condition that forces you to grow deeper roots, to rise higher, and to bloom in silence. Use rejection as fuel, not for revenge, not to prove others wrong, but to build something unshakable inside yourself. Every time someone walks away, let it be a moment where you walk back into yourself. Every time you're told, "You're not enough," use it to sharpen your discipline, your clarity, your mindfulness. You don't need to be picked by others to pick yourself. Remember, the Buddha was rejected too. Not everyone understood his teachings. Not everyone supported his journey. Some laughed at him, others ignored him. And yet, he remained centered not because he was praised, but because he was present. He knew that the path is not validated by the crowd. It is walked in silence, with patience, with inner strength. You are not here to be liked by all. You are here to awaken. When you face rejection, the ego will try to make it personal. They don't like me. I'm not good enough. I failed. But Buddhism invites you to rise above the ego's drama. Ask yourself, what am I learning from this? Where is this pushing me to grow? What attachment is this helping me release? When you do that, The pain becomes purpose. The wound becomes wisdom. Use rejection to become kinder to yourself. Use it to become more focused, not distracted by who didn't believe in you. Use it to go inward to discover the peace that was never meant to come from outside. You will find that the less you crave to be chosen, the more powerful you become. The less you chase approval, the more you walk your true path. And in time, people will wonder how you became so calm, so strong, so grounded. They'll see the peace you carry and assume life was easy for you. But you will know it was the moments you were rejected, the times you were overlooked, the seasons when you felt completely alone that shaped you, that carved your silence, that built your character, that gave you your power. So the next time someone says no to you, don't take it as a final answer. Take it as fuel. Take it as a reminder that not everything is meant for you, and that's okay. What is meant for you will never reject you. And what rejects you is not worth your soul. Let it go. Let it push you inward. Let it strengthen your stillness. Because rejection is not the end. It is often the beginning of a new, higher path, the one where you stop begging to be seen and finally begin to see yourself. That is the path of a mindful warrior. That is the way of the lotus. That is the power of Buddhist wisdom, using every no as a chance to return to your inner yes. 8. Build in silence. Let results make the noise. In a world obsessed with attention, broadcasting every move has become the norm. People share their goals before they begin, their pain before they've processed it, and their success before it's fully grown. But Buddhism teaches a very different path, a quieter, deeper one. It's the way of the inner builder, the one who creates not for applause, but for alignment. The one who plants seeds in silence and trusts that the bloom will speak for itself. The greatest growth happens in silence. The deepest transformations are invisible. A tree does not shout while it grows. A mountain does not announce its strength. The most powerful forces in nature operate quietly, steady, focused, and without distraction. Your personal evolution should be the same. You don't need to tell everyone what you're working on. You don't need to defend your plans, prove your worth, or explain your vision. Your energy is sacred, and the more you protect it from unnecessary exposure, the more powerful it becomes. Buddhism encourages us to practice right intention and right effort, not for performance, but for inner purification. When you build in silence, you move your attention away from how things look and focus instead on how things truly are. You're not worried about impressing others. You're concerned only with your own discipline, clarity, and peace. You shift from trying to look successful to becoming truly aligned, and that is far more rare, far more real. There's an illusion in constantly sharing your progress. The moment you announce your goal, your brain releases a sense of accomplishment even if you haven't achieved anything yet. This is a trap. It tricks you into feeling like you've already arrived. But Buddhism teaches mindfulness to remain present with the process, not the performance. When you speak too soon, you leak the sacredness of your journey. You invite opinions, distractions, and comparisons that can disturb your stillness. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strength under control. It is the choice to stay rooted while others chase recognition. When you're building yourself, your mind, your peace, don't ask for attention. Ask for discipline. Ask for patience. Ask for stillness. And then honor that silence like it's your teacher, because it is. You see, there's a certain peace that comes when you don't owe anyone updates. When you rise early to meditate and no one knows. When you stay calm in the face of provocation and no one notices. When you choose growth over gossip, peace over noise, presence over popularity, and do it without telling a soul. That's not just maturity, that's mastery. Let your progress be private. Let your healing be quiet. Let your goals unfold in the background, like the sun rising without an audience. There's nothing more powerful than a person who grows without needing permission or praise, because when the results come, and they will, they'll speak for you louder than your words ever could. People may not understand why you went silent. They might wonder why you disappeared, why you no longer seek validation, why you've grown distant from shallow conversations. But that's because you've gone inward. You've entered a sacred season, a season of planting, of building, of becoming. You are crafting a version of yourself that only you can see for now. And that version does not need to be explained. It needs to be protected. Even the Buddha withdrew into silence. For 6 long years, he left behind the noise of the palace, the distractions of the world, the opinions of society. And in that silence, he found everything. Not because he shouted, but because he sat, still, present, focused. His transformation did not need a stage. It needed solitude, and so does yours. Think of your goals like a temple. Would you build a sacred temple on shaky ground? Would you allow everyone to walk through it before the foundation is even laid? No. You build it with care, with quiet intention, with inner strength. And when it's ready, the world will see it. Not because you announced it, but because it stands tall, solid, rooted, complete. This doesn't mean you have to hide your joy or pretend you're not growing, but it means choosing depth over display. It means honoring the power of quiet creation. Every hour spent in silence, meditating, planning, reading, evolving adds a brick to your foundation. You may not see results today. You may not be recognized tomorrow. But if you stay consistent, the day will come when your presence walks into the room before you say a word. Because results don't beg for attention, they command it. And true results, the kind that change your life, are born from years of silent effort. Years of choosing the higher path when no one was watching. Years of building yourself when it would have been easier to give up. That's what separates the distracted from the disciplined, the performer from the practitioner, the noise from the power. So build in silence. Keep your vision close. Guard your energy. Refuse to be rushed by the world's urgency. Trust the process. Let your discipline be your voice. Let your actions be your statement. Let your results speak clearly, powerfully, and only when they are ready. Because the most unstoppable version of you is the one who no longer needs to explain, the one who lets peace, presence, and progress do all the talking. 9. Control what you can, ignore the rest. So much of our suffering comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. We try to control what others think about us, how they treat us, how fast success arrives, or how life should unfold according to our plans. And when life doesn't follow our script, we feel angry, frustrated, anxious, or hopeless. But the Buddhist path teaches us something radically freeing. You don't need to control everything to find peace. You just need to control yourself. The Buddha taught that suffering arises not from what happens to us, but from how we respond. The world is chaotic. People are unpredictable. Circumstances shift without warning. That will never change. What can change is your mind. What can change is your response to that chaos. This is the essence of Buddhist wisdom, learning to let go of what you cannot control and focusing your energy only on what you can. You cannot control if someone likes you. You cannot control if they support you, understand you, or treat you the way you hoped. But you can control whether or not you let their behavior ruin your peace. You can control whether you respond with anger or with calm, whether you react impulsively or breathe mindfully, whether you let them change your energy or you stay rooted in your own presence. Trying to control others is like trying to hold the wind. The more you chase it, the more exhausted you become. The more you try to force life into your expectations, the more disappointment you attract. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering, And control is one of the most dangerous forms of attachment. It gives us a false sense of power, and when that illusion breaks, we break with it. Instead of pouring your energy into things that don't belong to you, like people's choices, the speed of your results, or the opinions of strangers, redirect that energy inward. Control your breath. Control your words. Control your reactions. Control your focus. Control your effort, your routine, your response to failure. That is where your real power lives, not in changing the world, but in mastering yourself. There is an old Zen teaching, let go or be dragged. If you don't let go of the things you can't control, they will drag you into suffering. They will steal your peace. They will consume your thoughts, disturb your sleep, and distract you from your purpose. But when you release them truly, release them, a weight lifts. You begin to feel light, free, clear. Think of your life like a garden. You cannot control the weather. You cannot force the sun to shine or the rain to fall when you want it to. But you can till your soil. You can water your seeds. You can remove the weeds. That's your role. And if you stay consistent with time, the bloom will come. But if you stand in the garden every day yelling at the sky, begging the sun to shine faster, you'll miss the beauty of what's already growing. The same is true in your personal life. Instead of asking, why aren't things happening the way I want, ask, what part of this do I have control over right now? If you're waiting for someone to change, you're stuck. But if you start changing your habits, your reactions, your beliefs, you're evolving. And evolution brings peace, even if the outside world stays the same. Let go of needing everyone to understand you. Let go of needing everything to go your way. Let go of needing to prove yourself, to rush your growth, to make everyone happy. These are not your responsibilities. Your responsibility is to become so anchored within yourself that the storm outside cannot shake you. The Buddha faced endless challenges, betrayal, false accusations, ridicule, even violence. But he never tried to control others. He simply mastered his own mind. He remained still in the face of storms, calm in the face of chaos. Why? Because he understood the difference between what belongs to him and what doesn't. He focused not on the noise around him, but on the silence within him. That's what gave him unshakable strength. Imagine how much peace you would gain if you stopped trying to fix what isn't yours. If you stopped wasting energy on conversations that go in circles, on people who refuse to grow, on problems that aren't yours to carry. What if, instead, you put all that energy into your healing, into your spiritual practice, into your growth, your purpose, your self-control? That's when the real shift happens. That's when you stop reacting and start responding. That's when you move from chaos to clarity. You become the calm presence in the room, the one who doesn't flinch when things don't go as planned, the one who walks away instead of trying to convince, the one who chooses peace over pride, the one who no longer allows what's out of their control to disturb what's within their control. So let this be your daily practice. Wake up and ask yourself, what is mine to carry today and what is not? Then act on what is yours with full presence, full discipline, full awareness, and let go of the rest. Not with bitterness, but with wisdom. Because the one who lets go is not weak, they are wise. The one who focuses only on what they can control is not avoiding responsibility, they are mastering their role. And that mastery, that clarity, that inner control becomes your sanctuary. It becomes the place you return to again and again, no matter what life throws your way. Because while the world continues to change, your peace doesn't have to. Control what you can, ignore the rest, and watch your life become quieter, lighter, and more powerful than you ever imagined. 10. Become self-sufficient. Be your own source of power. There comes a moment on the path of spiritual awakening when you realize no one is coming to rescue you. Not your family, Not your friends, not your mentors, not even the people you once thought would walk with you forever. And it's not because people are bad, it's because each person is carrying their own weight. Everyone is busy battling their own storms, trying to find their own way, struggling to make sense of their own pain. That realization can either break you or it can awaken you. Buddhism teaches us to choose awakening. The Buddha didn't wait for anyone to give him permission. He didn't wait for the perfect time. He didn't depend on a savior to pull him out of his confusion. He left everything behind: his kingdom, his title, his family, and went into the wilderness alone, because he knew the truth. Freedom cannot be borrowed. Power cannot be handed to you. It must be found within. To be self-sufficient in the Buddhist sense does not mean you isolate yourself or reject community. It means you no longer depend on external things for your peace, your identity, or your energy. It means you stop chasing support, applause, or constant reassurance. Instead, you begin to develop your own inner strength, your own wisdom, your own source of power that cannot be shaken by the changing winds of life. The problem with depending on others for strength is this: people change, people leave, people disappoint. Not because they are cruel, but because they are human. And when your emotional stability is tied to someone else's presence, approval, or understanding, you will always be on unstable ground. One word from them can uplift you. Another word can destroy you. One compliment can boost you. One criticism can crush you. And that is not power, that is dependence. Buddhism teaches the middle way, a life of balance. You walk through this world with compassion, love, and connection, but you also walk with complete responsibility for your inner world. You stop outsourcing your happiness. You stop waiting for someone to come and say, "You're good enough," or "You're worthy." You begin to speak those words to yourself, in silence, from a place of knowing, not needing. True self-sufficiency is not cold. It is not distant. It is deeply peaceful. It is soft strength. It means waking up and knowing that no matter who stays or who leaves, no matter what changes or collapses around you, you will not fall apart, because your peace does not live in the hands of others. It lives in your breath. It lives in your awareness. It lives in your practice. The moment you decide to take full ownership of your mind, that's the moment you begin walking the path of freedom. You stop blaming others for how you feel. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you from your pain. You stop giving people the power to decide your mood, your worth, or your direction. Instead, you begin returning home to the temple within. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it can feel lonely at first. Because the truth is, most people are addicted to being needed. They believe that love means always being saved, always being comforted, always being understood. But in Buddhism, love begins with self-awareness. You must first be whole within yourself before you can love others without expectation, without clinging, without trying to complete yourself through them. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and no one else can fill your cup for you. You must sit quietly and fill it drop by drop through practice, through discipline, through presence. Every morning you wake up and choose to meditate instead of scroll, that's a drop. Every time you choose not to react with anger, even when it burns inside you, that's a drop. Every time you speak truth instead of trying to please, that's another drop. Slowly, silently, your cup begins to fill. And one day it overflows. Not from need, but from abundance. You start showing up in the world with a grounded heart. You no longer chase relationships to feel complete. You no longer need success to feel valuable. You no longer rely on compliments to feel beautiful. Why? Because you have built something unshakable inside. You've become your own source of power. Even when no one understands your path, you walk it. Even when no one supports your vision, you build it. Even when you're overlooked, you grow in silence. This is the power of the awakened one. Not to dominate the world, but to master oneself. Not to control others, but to rise above, needing their validation. Buddhism is not about escaping life. It's about engaging life with clarity and inner strength. To be self-sufficient is to stop needing life to be easy. You learn to meet challenges with presence, not panic. To meet loss with acceptance, not collapse. To meet discomfort with breath, not distraction. This is not just theory. This is real practice. This is the path that leads to unshakable peace. It is okay to need people from time to time. We are human. Connection is part of life. But it becomes dangerous when you need them to complete you, when you rely on them to motivate you, validate you, carry you. Because if they change, and they will, you're left empty. But when you build your own inner sanctuary, no one can take it away. That's not loneliness. That's liberation. So how do you begin becoming your own source of power? You begin with silence, with stillness, with breathing. You begin by looking at your own thoughts instead of running from them. You begin by asking yourself not, "Who will save me?" but "What is within me that I haven't awakened yet?" You stop chasing, and you start becoming. You stop waiting, and you start acting. You stop doubting, and you start trusting not the world, but your own inner wisdom. You'll stumble, you'll forget, you'll fall into old habits. But each time you return to yourself, you become stronger. You begin to realize that peace is not found in perfect conditions, it's found in perfect awareness. And you already have access to that, right now, in this breath, in this moment. So stop giving your power away. Stop waiting to be rescued. Stop searching for someone to give you what you haven't yet given yourself. Become your own source. Be the one who rises early to train the mind. Be the one who sits in silence while others seek noise. Be the one who moves in alignment while others move for applause. Because when you reach that point, when you can sit quietly, without distraction, without praise, and feel full, truly full, you have touched something sacred. You've touched the essence of the path the Buddha walked. A path not of need, but of knowing, not of begging, but of becoming. And in that stillness, you'll realize the most beautiful truth of all. Everything you were waiting for from others, you had within you all along. At some point, the path becomes clear, not because life got easier, not because people suddenly changed, but because you did. You stopped waiting to be noticed. You stopped explaining your pain. You stopped needing the world to slow down and care. And in that stillness, in that silence, in that powerful return to self, you discovered something sacred. Your strength was never out there. It was always within. Buddhism doesn't promise a life without suffering. It offers something even more powerful, the wisdom to rise above it. It doesn't teach us how to escape the world. It shows us how to walk through it with presence, with clarity, with peace. When you accept that nobody is here to save you, you stop waiting and start awakening. You stop reaching outward and begin going inward. You stop reacting to the chaos and start mastering the calm within. Each principle you've heard is a seed, a reminder, a tool. Accept your solitude not as a curse, but as your classroom. Own your pain not as a burden, but as your guide. Let your results speak, not your complaints. Detach from the trap of validation. Release the expectations that keep you stuck. Let go of needing the world to pause for your story. Turn rejection into your strength. Build without noise. Focus only on what is yours to carry. And most of all, become your own sanctuary, your own steady flame in a world of shifting winds. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to understand yourself. You are not here to be rescued. You are here to awaken. And the more you focus on yourself not with ego, but with awareness, the more your life begins to align, quietly, powerfully, permanently. So walk forward now, not needing applause, not fearing solitude, not waiting for perfect conditions. Walk as the Buddha did, with mindfulness, with courage, with full presence. Because nobody cares in the way you hoped. And that's okay. That is your freedom. That is your beginning.